You find yourselves in a dank dungeon full of horrible terrors and deadly secrets.
I know. We should split up and cover more ground.
Holy crap, what an idiot!
Yeah, no kidding. What's wrong with you?
Great many things, I'm sure.
Oh, come on, guys. Where's your sense of adventure? Besides, it'll be faster.
Faster? How's it going to be faster?
Yeah, it's not going to be any faster. We only have one dungeon master, and everything needs to filter through him.
A moron!
Well, whatever. You guys are all jerks. I'm gonna go off by myself anyway. Does anybody want to come with me? Well, fine then. Mr. Dungeon Master, sir. I go off by myself and explore the dungeon.
Very well. You press forward by yourself through the dark, horrible, dangerous, dismal, depressing dungeon. And before you rises up a terrifying tentacle monster.
I attack it!
As the rest of you explore the dungeon, defeating groups of monsters that are challenging but not impossible, you come upon the corpse of your barbarian friend. Do you cast Raise Dead?
Heck no! He shouldn't have split the party!
Welcome to the DM Lair. I'm Lucar, and I've been a Dungeon Master since high school. On this channel, I give practical Dungeon Master advice that you can implement at your game table. Today in the Lair, we'll be talking about our favorite cliched mantra, don't split the party. Specifically, I'll be discussing reasons why a Dungeon Master would not want to have a split party, how a DM can encourage their players to stay together, and common pitfalls of keeping the party together. And if you have any questions about this topic or any other, swing by one of my live streams. I have them every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 6 p.m. Eastern US time. Link to my Twitch channel down below. Also, if you'd like to have free D&D resources and even entire adventures delivered to your inbox every week, sign up for my newsletter at the link in the description also. Reasons not to split the party. Number 1, it allows all players to participate and stay engaged in the game. Holy crap. I was in a game session recently where the Dungeon Master intentionally split the party and gave each of us something we needed to do. And do you know what happened? Can you guess? That's right, I sat on my happy little butt there for like half an hour doing absolutely nothing while the 2 other players got to play the game. Well, that's actually a lie. We were playing online, so I tuned the game out and was like working on stuff for my videos or something. But the point remains, when there is a split party, some of the players get to play D&D, and some of the players are left on the sidelines as spectators. Now, let me ask you another question. Has anyone ever played team sports? I have. High school football. And let me tell you something. It is boring as crap to sit on the bench and watch other people play the game. Dungeon Masters. This is what happens when there is a split party. You're turning a group game into a spectator sport, and you're practically guaranteed that some of your players will be bored out of their minds, cell phones will come out, and many a fine dice tower shall be built. Now, can it be fun for the spectators? Of course. People sit on their sofas every week and watch football and basketball games, stuffing their sweet mouths with popcorn and pizza. Oh, sweet, delicious pizza. You know, I think I actually have pizza in the fridge. Just give me a second. I got anything on my teeth? Look good. Don't want any cheese in there. Okay, anyway, as I was saying, it is possible to run a fun and engaging game for all players, even when the party is split up. I know, I've done it before, but it is not easy. And it is the exception, not the norm. Dungeon Masters have a much better shot at running a fun game for all players when the players are all together in one group, can all play the game, and folks are not left on the sidelines just watching. By the way, in next week's video, I'm actually going to talk about why you should split the party from time to time, and how to run a split party so that all players are fully engaged. So yeah, stick around for that. Stick around for Luke contradicting himself. Yeah, I feel like that probably happens a lot. I'm like, do this, no, do that. Ah! Number 2, running split parties slows the game down.
I have an idea, guys. We can split up and kill all of the bad guys in this dungeon even faster.
Yeah, I like the way you think.
Yep, splitting up will make this go faster for sure.
No, it won't. Come on, why do players always say this? Like, I get that in-game things will go faster, but out of game, around the table, there's only one dungeon master, and everything needs to filter through them. If subparty A does such and such thing, the dungeon master needs to arbitrate that, while subparty B sits on their hands and waits their stinking turn. Like, they're not doing diddly squat while the DM deals with subparty A. And then the dungeon master needs to jump over to subparty B, and guess what subparty A is doing during that time? If you guessed sitting there and doing nothing, you're right. Is anyone here familiar with the term context switching? If you're not, Google it. It has been scientifically studied and proven that context switching, constantly switching from one thing to another, is less efficient and takes more time than if you were to stick with one task and get it done before moving on to the next one. That means that if the dungeon master is jumping back and forth from subparty A to subparty B in an effort to make the game more engaging and interesting for all players, something that dungeon masters should be doing when they run split parties, it's gonna take longer to run the game that way. So it definitely slows the game down out of character. And a slower game is often a more boring and less fun game. I mean, why do you think we have so many videos on YouTube about how to speed D&D up? Number 3, running split parties is more work for the dungeon master. Why, you might ask? Because you're basically running multiple games simultaneously. Let's think this through. You got party A, party B, and party C. You gotta keep track of what's happening with each of them in your brain. That's hard for my brain. You might be better, but struggle bus. Then you gotta constantly swap among them, allowing each party to progress their own little bit of the storyline. Come on, let's be honest here, that gets mentally exhausting after a while. For the players, no problem, but the dungeon master has to do the mental gymnastics and ball juggling to keep it all running smoothly. And that takes work and can get confusing, so it's not something you probably want to do super often. Number 4, encounters are built for the entire party. This is especially true if you're running modules. Like, there aren't options for 1 player, 2 players, 3, 4, 5, or 6 players. It assumes they're all together. And even if you're homebrewing your adventures, don't you usually plan group encounters anticipating the PCs will all be together? Like, how will you know in advance that your players will decide to split up?
Well, actually, Luke, I create different versions of every counter in advance, just in case they split up.
Well, thank you, Mr. Dungeon Master, sir. You just made point 3, running split parties being more work for the Dungeon Master, even stronger. So, unless you want to plan out multiple versions of encounters in advance or modify them on the fly during the game, encounters are built for the entire party. And that means if a couple PCs runs off into one of those encounters while they are split up, the chances of death, destruction, and ultimate doom are even greater. Number 5, keeping the party together avoids metagaming. Come on, players, fess up. How many times have you used out-of-character knowledge in character when your PC was not actually present in-game when said knowledge was revealed? For instance, subparty A is exploring one part of the dungeon, runs into a crazy encounter, and is getting their butts handed to them. And then, miraculously, subparty B just happens to head that way at full speed, arriving just in time to save everybody's skins. Yeah, because players would never do that, would they? Like, if you want to play the game together, stay together. Another thing that happens a lot, that isn't quite as blatant a metagaming, is that over the course of several game sessions, it can become difficult for players to remember which scenes their PCs were present at and which ones they shouldn't know anything about. This is a sort of unintentional metagaming that can occur. There's no real blame to be laid here. It's just kind of hard to keep things straight. Oh, here's another blatant one. When a player whose PC isn't present gives another player suggestions for what to do or say. I had a game once. It was actually one of the very first games I ran for 5th edition, where the players split up, Group A was presented with a riddle, and I told Group B not to say anything. And then, wouldn't you know it, a player from Group B gave them the answer anyway, and then Group A used it and solved the riddle. To this day, that pisses me off. And I really should have had them fail the riddle, the riddle. But you know, it was my first game session with that group, and I was trying to be nice. Something that I don't do anymore. I'm actually not that bad of a DM. I just, kind of lie to people about it. Oh, here's another one. How many of you have been in a game with a split party and group A is at the tavern, say, talking to an NPC, and then someone from group B, who isn't even there, begins talking to the NPC too? Like that happens all the time in my games, and I'm like, no, you're not there, be quiet. And then of course, the player who isn't there at the tavern just decides, for no particular reason, to go over to the tavern because they want to talk to the NPC too. An NPC their character has no idea the others are even talking to. Filthy little metagamers. I've done it too, so I'm no throwing of stones around here. And all of that can be avoided when the party is together. How to encourage the group to stay together. Okay, I've given you reasons that groups should stay together, even though next week I'm gonna give you reasons they should split up, but let's just pretend that I'm not going to do that for a second. So now let's talk about how dungeon masters can keep the party together. Number 1, design encounters for the entire party and don't change them even if the party splits up. A few years ago in my Sword Coast Guard campaign, an adventure took place at Gauntlet Hall, north of Waterdeep. There was something happening in the crypts below, there's a bug flying by my head, and the PCs had to go figure out what was going on. So my players decided to have 4 of them distract the Knights of Gauntlet Hall, while the 5th player's PC, Elodin the Wizard, turned invisible and slipped down into the crypts by himself. And the distraction worked wonderfully. The 4 PCs, poised as new recruits to the Order, spent some quality time receiving religious instruction from the head priest of Torm.
Hail Torm!
Meanwhile, the invisible Elodin began exploring the crypts all by himself. That's right, the wizard all by himself. And then let's just say that he ran into a stone golem guardian all by himself. Yeah, he nearly died and was flinging every spell he had just to get away.
Hail Torm!
But I will say this, that was one of the absolute best game sessions we've ever had, and it was with a split party. So maybe you should just ignore everything I've been telling you in this video. I told you I like to contradict myself. Or maybe, just maybe, there is a time and a place for a split party, and using the split party mechanic strategically can enhance your game. Hail Torm! Anyway, my point here is that stone golem encounter was designed for the entire group, and I just didn't adjust it because the wizard decided to go gallivanting off on his own. And when all the encounters in your adventures are designed for the group and you don't change them, your players will just sort of organically stay together. It's amazing how that works. Number 2, include a motivation for teamwork in the characters' backstories. Look, when I have my players create their characters, they can do pretty much anything they want, but I have 2 requirements. Your character must have a reason to be an adventurer and, actually go on adventures, and they must have a reason to stay with the group. Holy crap, I am so sick and tired of hearing stories about players creating edgy Lone Ranger characters who then never want to stick with the group. Like dungeon masters, why do you even allow them to create that character? Do not give players the opportunity to fall back on the weighing rod excuse of, that's what my character would do. Number 3, set expectations at session 0. This is quite simple, folks. I tell my players straight up that I run a group game, and that the expectation for my D&D games is that the players stick together most of the time. From time to time, splitting up is going to happen, and that's okay. But the expectation is that for the majority of the time, they're playing together as a group. You'd be amazed at how powerful just talking to people sometimes is. By the way, if you'd like to know other things I usually do in my Session Zeros, check out my Session Zero video, link placed conveniently below. Final recommendations. Dungeons and Dragons is a group game, and most of the time, the most fun is going to be had when the group is together. That said, I recommend giving your players the freedom to split up occasionally if they want to. There is a lot of fun to be had from split parties from time to time. But if you constantly find yourself running a split party, I have a question for you. Why are you just running 2 or 3 D&D groups instead of 1? If your players refuse to stay together and are always split up, you're essentially running different games anyway. So wouldn't it just be better to just split the players up and run several D&D games? Don't forget to follow me over on Twitch for some chill live streams where I hang out, talk D&D, and even paint minis together. Let me know how you keep your players from constantly splitting up. Next week, we'll be talking about why you should split the party. But until then, click right here to learn how to create your own dungeon or adventure. And until next time, Hail Torm! That in-game, the teleprompter doesn't move. Not left, not our left, our not left. You'd be amazing at how... we hang out? Get our lines?